Padmuck is the intelligent tool for website lead generation. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. Padmuck qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50%. Check us on pathmonk.com. Welcome to today's episode. Let's talk about today's guest. We got Thomas at First Orion. They just hit 1 billion branded calls year to date out there. How are you doing today, Thomas?
I'm great, Ernesto. Thank you for having me on your show today.
Now, thank you for being on. Thomas, in your own words, tell us a little bit about your company and what it's all about, and what problems do you solve for your clients?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, First Orion, we were founded in 2008. Since the beginning of the company, we've been working to improve the phone call, not only for consumers, people who receive phone calls, but also for businesses. We also work within mobile networks to improve just the quality of calls on the scam identification side. We also have a branded calling solution. You mentioned that just a second ago. It's an enhanced caller ID. Basically, it allows businesses to connect with their customers. We know that about 87% of people say that they won't answer calls from numbers they don't recognize. And so we're rebuilding trust and transparency in the phone call to help more businesses make more meaningful connections and create those great user experiences.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, we've definitely, I believe every company out there has had an issue with that at one point in their career. So definitely that's good to hear. So then who would you say are your main clients? What type of industry are you guys focusing on?
So the great thing about branded calling is that it applies across the board, right? Every business, whether you're a restaurant, a small garden shop, flower shop, something like that, all the way to your big financial services, hospitals and things like that could all use branded calling in some form or fashion. However, we are primarily focused in the healthcare space, financial services, fintech kind of thing, insurance, retail. And then, we also work with call centers and things like that, again, to help them make better outbound calls to reach their consumers.
Definitely. So then with all these industries that you guys are focusing on, what would you say is your top client acquisition channel to get those clients in the door?
Yeah, so we use a mix of methods here. We believe that you gotta attack it from multiple different angles, but our biggest driver of traffic and prospecting is through search engines. So, updating SEO, digital advertising, things like that. We also invest heavily in events, so going to trade shows. We do digital trade shows online. We also go out and hit those call and contact center events, and also specific industry trade shows where they're talking about the next generation of tech, and go out there to that. And then we also use PR to get placements and bylines, build brand awareness and thought leadership in these specific vertical magazines where the decision makers and the buying committee are out there reading and looking for new solutions to their problems. I can't hear you, Ernesto.
Sorry about that. With all these acquisition channels that you guys have going on, what role does the website play for your client acquisition then?
Yeah, I think the website is arguably the most important piece of the digital marketing component in today's day and age. That's where people go to learn about your company. And so when people come to the website, it needs to be very clear about what you do, what problems you solve, what sort of storytelling do you get, so that way they understand what their pain points are and how your solution speaks to those and how it can fix it. So the website, it's like a digital billboard. You have to make a good first impression and tell a good story and build a good experience there.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Well, let's switch it up a little bit, Tom. Let's talk a little bit about you as a leader. All right.
Sure.
What are the key tasks you focus on your day-to-day work?
Key tasks. So the biggest thing, number one, is people management. I mean, just coming in, creating good relationships, a good work environment for our folks. Also just following up on projects. What are we trying to work on this week? What is our end goal? Where are we trying to get to? and then taking data analysis and working with our numbers folks and crunching things and seeing, are our campaigns working? Do we need to pivot? What's the next step? If this works, let's try it somewhere else and do it all over again. So it's a mix of different things, but really it's connecting with people in my role and kind of understanding where their pain points are and how I can help them solve problems or get things out the door, or they can give me feedback, on what's working for them.
All right, that's great to hear. I like asking this question to for our viewers' insights. What is the last book that you read, Tom?
So the last book that I read is called The Biggest Bluff. It's by a lady named Maria Konnikova. I heard her speak at a recent Gartner event that I went to. The book is about, she got into poker. I love playing cards, so it really kind of spoke to me, but she was this really brilliant data analyst, and she went and she started playing poker, and she took those lessons and converted it to a book. And basically it was learning how the takeaway from it is learning how to pay attention to the details, right? How do you stay engaged? How do you pick up on little things? We all know certain big things that are going on, but there are little cues and keys along the way that we can pick up to fill in the gaps of information that we may not have everything about, but we can make reasonable assumptions based off what tells or things that are going on that may not be completely obvious to other people. So it's how to pay attention and kind of turn that into building a bigger picture.
Definitely would have to check that out. That's good to hear. A little bit about the work. What is one single thing right now that First Orion is focused on at the moment the most, Tom?
The biggest thing at the moment, so there's two, it's two things. One, we're pretty new into this space. This technology is relatively new within the past couple of years. So we've been really focused on building awareness around the problem, right? Everybody, you get so many calls a day that from numbers you don't recognize, depending on which, wireless carrier you're on, you may get some tags that say scam likely or spam or something else, telemarketers, those kinds of things. But is there a solution for that? And we have the solution. So it was building awareness around the problem and the solution, identifying what consumers were talking about, and then taking those stories and building them out so that way we can go target these industry verticals. And then really taking branded calling, getting that into the national sort of lexicon, having people talk about that as a product name and what it can do. So that way it builds awareness around who we are and what we do, and hopefully lead to more sales. People will trust who we are.
Awesome. Great to hear that. Now, Tom, if there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be one thing you want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
I would love number one thing I would just love to see is, we do a lot of work on the marketing end to bring in leads. And then of course we hand them off to the sales folks. And we have a lot of tools at our disposal to kind of understand, when they send out emails, when they're following with prospects and things like that. But I would love to have just more data on kind of what different touch points along the way made the best difference or most difference, or what was working. And, this is the kind of thing that turned into a lost deal, or these are the things that turn into won deals. So having a little more data and insights on the sales process side would be probably my number one thing.
I bet. Yep. So if there's one repetitive task that you could automate, what would that be?
Reading emails.
Oh, all right. Nice.
Ernesto, you get a lot of emails, I'm sure, a day. I get a ton of them, and sometimes getting through all of them is a challenge. So if somebody could automate, this is the point, here's what this email says, and get through it a little bit quicker would be helpful.
Definitely would agree with you. Now, Thomas, you've been in the marketing world for quite some time now. You're head of marketing there at First Orion. If there's one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today, what would that be?
I would say learn everything that you can learn. Everybody, a lot of people start off in marketing in a low level role, so it's taking that, being tuned in, trying to be open to try new things and search yourself into situations and just try and learn everything you can. And you'll find out where you're strong and where your strengths are at. And then also you're identifying where your weaknesses are. So that way you can continue to to challenge yourself and build out those so you can get a better understanding and make yourself more well-rounded.
Awesome. Great to hear. Well, we're coming to the end of our episode for today, Tom. I do want to give you the last word. So if someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is the one thing they should remember about First Orion?
First Orion is building trust and transparency in the phone call, restoring that to make a better user experience for companies and consumers.
Awesome. You heard it there from Thomas from First Orion, head of marketing, where they've completed a really good 1 billion branded calls. They're out there at First Orion. Thank you so much for being in today's episode, Thomas. Thank you for our listeners, and we look forward to seeing someone else on the episode continuing. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.